Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the meeting of the Access Academics and Student Success Committee. We appreciate you being here. I'm Mike Ragsdale. I am actually pinch hitting today for Commissioner Whitney Allman. Whitney's under the weather. She's with us virtually, so Commissioner Allman, welcome, and we hope you get to feeling better very soon. And I would remind those of you who are speaking, there's an on button that you need to push so that we can record as we move forward. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll? And for those of you who are virtual, if you have other folks in the room with you want to recognize as being in attendance, please let us know that as well. Rachel.
Commissioner Allman?
Present. No one in the room with me.
Commissioner Perry? Commissioner Ragsdale?
Here.
Commissioner Scarlett?
Here.
Commissioner Wood?
Here.
Secretary Hargett?
Here.
Commissioner James? Here. Chairman, you have 6 members present and 5 voting members present.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and, well, before I do that, I want to take a moment of personal privilege. I have a very good friend whose birthday is tomorrow, and I've known him most of his adult life. So, Secretary Hargett, explain to the group how old will you be tomorrow?
Well, I am officially past the speed limit. I'm not just on a rural road.
Fair enough. That leaves. Gotcha. Okay. Next, the adoption of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion and a second to adopt the agenda for today's meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Chairwoman Allman?
Aye.
Commissioner Ragsdale?
Aye.
Commissioner Scarlett?
Aye.
Commissioner Wood?
Aye.
Secretary Hargett?
Aye.
Chairman, you have 5 ayes.
Thank you. The next is public comment, and Dr. Gentile, have we received any requests for public comments?
No, Mr. Chairman, we've not received any requests for public comment today.
Okay. Next, approval of our minutes. With no question or objections, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the November 6, 2024 committee meeting.
So moved.
Motion? Second. Please call the roll.
Chairwoman Allman?
Aye.
Commissioner Ragsdale?
Aye.
Commissioner Scarlett?
Aye.
Commissioner Wood?
Aye.
Secretary Hargett? Chairman, you have 5 ayes.
Motion passes. Now we have our regular calendar, and the first item is post-secondary education authorization. There are 2 parts to this agenda item, and without objection, we'll vote on them as a set. Dr. Stephanie Ballard Chase, Senior Director of Post-Secondary State Authorization, will provide an overview of the post-secondary education authorization and then answer any questions. Dr. Ballard Chase, you're recognized. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner Ragsdale, Dr. Gentile, members of the committee, good afternoon. The institutions listed in section CC1A and CC1B are being recommended for regular and expedited authorization respectively, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions? With no objection, we'll have entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Chairwoman Allman?
Aye.
Commissioner Ragsdale?
Aye.
Commissioner Scarlett?
Aye.
Commissioner Wood?
Aye.
Secretary Hargett? Chairman, you have 5 ayes.
Thank you, and the motion passes.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Ballard Chase, thank you. We appreciate you. Our next item is new academic programs, and we have several today from MTSU. The first is Biomedical Science, Master of Science. The second will be Digital Media, and the third will be Legal Studies. And Dr. Catherine Brackett, Senior Director of Academic Affairs, will provide an overview, and Dr. Amy Aldridge is here as well. So is Amy, will you be doing that?
Katie will get us started.
Okay, thanks, Katie.
Good afternoon, everybody. We have 3 new academic programs for your consideration today, all of which are being proposed by MTSU. You have already read off the list of programs, and before I pass the presentation over to my colleagues from MTSU, I do want to offer some thanks to Dr. Megan Roberts, Director of Academic Affairs at THEC, who has been a huge support to MTSU through the program approval process. And now I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Amy Aldridge, Vice Provost for Academic Affairs at Middle Tennessee State University, who's here to present the programs to you.
Dr. Aldridge, thanks for being here.
My pleasure. We will start with the Master of Science in Biomedical Sciences. And I'm going to ask Dr. Scott Handy, Professor of Chemistry and co-author of the proposal, to join me, and also Dean Greg Van Patten from the College of Basic and Applied Sciences to join me up here as well. So the proposed MS in Biomedical Sciences, which is coursework only with no required thesis, is the first of its kind at a public institution in Tennessee. As a non-thesis program, it's not subject to the unpredictable nature of scientific research, and as a 30-hour program, it can be completed in 10 months by a full-time student. It also has a broad interdisciplinary foundation in the relevant sciences. We believe this curricular design is responsive to the current crisis in healthcare employment. In fact, we have received very strong support from both regional workforce management and professional school admissions officers for this degree. There's a dual purpose with this degree offering of A, preparing students to enter various employment opportunities, including clinical research, medical testing, forensic science testing, and pharmaceutical sales, and or B, allowing students to be more successful in admissions to health professional programs, such as medical, dental, optometry, pharmaceutical, and physician assistant. This degree will allow graduates to stay in state to complete the degree and then work in state, which we believe is important. Nashville alone is home to more than 500 healthcare companies. As noted here, medical scientist jobs within Tennessee are expected to grow by 22% in the decade between 2016 and 26. As we are all aware, the demand for health-related professionals is experiencing a massive surge to cope with the equally significant growth in population in the Middle Tennessee region. New hospitals and clinics are opening all the time, and existing facilities are being expanded, and quite frankly, the support structures for testing are struggling to keep up. I heard this sentiment over and over again when we met with employers as part of the external review process. This program requires very little new resources as it builds on existing successes within the College of Basic and Applied Sciences. You'll see that a staff member has been assigned half-time to the degree program to help with admissions. Only 2 new courses need to be created for this degree program, and no new full-time faculty hires are required. I'm happy to take questions.
Are there any questions for Dr. Aldridge? If not, I'll entertain a motion and a second on the Master of Science program in Biomedical Sciences. It's been a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, you call the roll.
Chairwoman Allman,
Aye.
Commissioner Perry,
Aye.
Commissioner Ragsdale,
Aye.
Commissioner Scarlett, Commissioner Woods, Secretary Hargett. Chairman, you have 6 ayes.
Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Dr. Aldridge, I think you're going to stay with us, correct?
I would love to.
Okay.
Yeah.
A little side note, if I remember correctly, Dr. Aldridge is coming from Texas A&M, and so we're glad you're in Tennessee.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I was a part of that system before I came here a few years ago. So we are now happy to talk about the Master of Science in Digital Media. I'm going to ask Dr. Sally Ann Cruikshank, who is a professor and co-author of this proposal. This master's degree is 30 credit hours. All of them you will see today are 30 credit hours, and is fully online, asynchronous, and for a full-time student is completable in a calendar year. The latest data from the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development projects more than 2,000 job openings per year through 2030 in media-related occupations. Hanover has identified this discipline as one of Tennessee's 16 high-growth areas of graduate education. We've received very strong business and alumni encouragement for this degree, evidenced by the 8 regional media partners offering letters of support.
We also appreciate them meeting with our external reviewer. As you are aware, the state master plan notes that, quote, emerging technologies have created a pace of change faster than any time in history, end quote. Graduates from the MS in digital media will learn in-demand technology skills needed in today's workplace, including social media analytics, search engine optimization, website creation and management, data analysis, and how to ethically and effectively use artificial intelligence programs. As the state master plan acknowledges, increasing access to education, a fully online degree in this case, translates to more job opportunities and higher salaries for our graduates, the majority of whom at MTSU are Tennesseans. This is another low-cost program because it is repackaged from existing course offerings and highlights our current faculty's impressive expertise. It also allows us to expand the graduate degree profile in our College of Media and Entertainment. As you can see, there is potential for high financial return. I'm happy to take questions, and Dr. Cruikshank is as well, about this degree program.
Are there questions?
I do have a question, if you don't mind.
Commissioner Scarlett.
Thank you. So a lot of the course listings you just mentioned, I'm assuming that'll also be in the bachelor's program. My question for this specifically is, with how fast artificial intelligence is moving, where do you see that truly being incorporated across all of the programs in this particular school of education, but also, or digital marketing program? That's on one part of my question. My second part of the question is, how many companies are looking to hire people with a master's in digital marketing?
Do you want to take that?
So to answer your question, we are constantly revamping. I mean, with the School of Journalism and Strategic Media, everything is new. So every semester, we're altering our classes to include the newest technology and development. So we have already started to integrate AI tools into our programs. I teach several in my classes, mainly showing students how to use AI ethically instead of just having it write their papers for them, because journalists are using a lot of AI tools in the field right now with data organization, data analysis, lots of things like that. So that's what we're working on, kind of teaching students how to do now. And this program will take that one step further. We do, constantly revamp what is in our classes to fit whatever is new. When it comes to how many people are hiring for this degree, I think that what we're going to be offering in this degree will go across all media job markets. So, I think we had in the first slide more than 2,000 jobs open up every year. Our students will be eligible for those jobs. We also anticipate a lot of people who are currently working in media markets to want to take this master's degree to revamp their skills. Because if you graduated 10 years ago and you haven't done any kind of professional development, you could be behind. And we've already had several people who have been undergraduates of ours who have been out in the workforce for 5 to 10 years reaching out to us about this degree, because when we sent the survey out to see how many people would be interested in this, we got a lot of really great feedback. So I hope that answers your questions.
It does. One of the comments that I think you made is in regards to increased salary for people with a master's program, and I think that's just a bit of a curiosity. I totally get the fact that it's moving so fast that people are reaching out saying, hey, I need to get more education on this. I'm just unclear on how many companies are really truly going to be thinking about paying salary at a higher level because of this degree, as opposed to just an expectation for what is in the role.
I mean, I can tell you I'm a former journalist and teach mainly in the journalism program, and I can tell you that most media outlets will pay you more if you have a master's degree. I also think that the beauty of this degree is that it's not just for journalists or people who specifically want to go into media. There are people who want to manage media for other companies. Everyone has a website now. Most companies have social media on some scale now, and they need somebody to manage those accounts. Let's say we're talking about a construction company, right? They're going to have a website, they're going to have a social media page probably. And one of our students would be up for those jobs. Even though it's a construction company, they're going to need media managers.
I would also mention with this particular proposal today that this one is completely online, so it is more, there's more of a national market, and we do advertise nationally as part of our digital campaigns out of our college graduate studies.
Maybe one other.
Secretary Hargett?
Well, I probably should know this based on something I should have read or something you have said that I missed out on. How many other degree programs are there like this across the country?
You want to address that?
So we actually haven't found many that have kind of the scope that we have that are fully online, that are also available to finish in a calendar year. This was our big thing. We wanted to make sure, because as you mentioned, things change really fast, right? So we don't want this to be a 2-3 year degree where somebody starts and by the time they finish their first semester, they've already outgrown what they've learned, right? So there aren't a lot of programs like this. There are a few programs across the country that are labeled digital media, but they're not necessarily looking at what we're looking. A lot of them are much more specialized in perhaps graphic design, or because most media are digital these days, so that can mean a lot of things. And ours is really focused more on, these kind of broad categories of how you work media.
How concerned are you that, let's say, your first class that graduates with this master's degree, that training is obsolete in 3 years? If we're concerned that the pace of a program might render itself obsolete, we also ought to be worried about the person who's graduating, how pertinent or relevant that degree is going to be in 3 years.
Well, I think a big part of this degree is showing students how to stay relevant. Okay. So we're teaching them what is happening now, but we're also teaching them how to stay up on top of things so that when they leave the program, they're not just going to have what is happening now and the skills that they need right now. They're going to understand the steps they need to take to stay relevant. Where do you read? What do you pay attention to? Where do you find trends in digital media? It's not just the skills that they're learning, they're also learning how to be better at the field in general.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask the question also, in terms of that, I've seen several of these programs come up, like the Masters of Political Communication program that University of Arkansas has, and some others. But one of the things that a lot of those successful programs do is they plug their students into societies and into professional organizations. So that's almost built in with an expectation in terms of providing the student a way to stay abreast of their field. Can you talk a little bit about the plans in terms of this program, being that it's online and you're a little bit distanced from the student?
Well, we already in our school have quite a few of online classes. We're very, I think with our undergraduate degree, we have about 80% to 90% of our courses online already. So we're very practiced in working with online education in our program. I think the other part of this is everyone on our faculty has been a media professional at one point in time. I'm a former journalist. I worked for CBS for several years. We have USA Today writers on our staff. We have a wonderful network, and we do a really good job with both our undergraduate and our already existing in-person master's degree with linking our students with people in the industry so that they can, we do not have a practicum or an internship built into this degree because we're looking at people who may be refreshing their skills and already working somewhere. But we will make that available for students if they're interested in learning more hands-on. We have a fantastic network that we can put students in touch with so that, they're meeting media professionals and learning what the industry looks like as they're going through the degree.
Thank you. Just kind of a follow-up question to what Secretary was talking about. And this is not so about this particular proposal, but at a broader level across the School of Journalism, have you all talked about these on and off ramps that we have had many conversations about, or stackable credentials, with how fast this space is changing? Is there a way for students to step in at different times as opposed to just focusing on a bachelor's or just focusing on a master's, just take that construct away? Have you talked about ways to think different about how to engage students, knowing how fast this is going to change?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this degree in particular really can be an on-ramp of sorts because you do not need to have an undergraduate degree in journalism or media or anything related to it to take this degree. You know, this is something where if you have a bachelor's in political science, you can take this degree without needing any background in it. And we also have lots of different classes in our undergraduate program that are available to the whole university. As a matter of fact, our digital media practices, which I always tout it as being the new public speaking. It is essentially a class where students learn how to take a good photo, record good audio, record good video, and use social media responsibly. And that will actually be joining our True Blue Core in the fall as general education. So even students in other programs, at the very least, are going to get some of that media literacy and understanding of, how do you interact with media in a more responsible way.
Commissioner Scarlett, I could address that from a broader perspective from the university as well. We have created a badge program that's now been in place for about 1.5 years, and it is growing tremendously. The registrar's office oversees it for us with a faculty committee, and we are growing by 12 to 15 a year. I just saw this fall's list approved. And so that's been really exciting for us because it allows the students to only take classes, it's coupled with activities and portfolio items, and then they receive this badge. We have parchment over watching it for us, and then they can put it on their LinkedIn or other social media. So it's been really good for us.
That's cool. I love hearing about that. I have one other slightly random question. When you're talking about digital literacy, what is MTSU doing to reach into the local high schools and middle schools to help teach students about true digital literacy in today's age?
Actually, we have a partnership with local schools on a couple of different levels. One, we have our Summer Come to Voice Camp, where we work with local middle schools to teach students how to use video and social media responsibly. And as a matter of fact, this summer, we're starting our first, we're doing another camp with high school students that can come in and learn how to cover the Governor's Honors Academy. So they'll be doing a workshop with our school in conjunction at the same time as the Governor's Academy. And they'll actually cover the Governor's Academy as journalists during this camp. We're also in the process, actually my co-author of this degree and myself at our last faculty meeting have been tasked with creating a portfolio of resources for high school educators with MTSU, kind of tip sheets, some of our online content, that explains some of this. We're going to be reaching out to high school teachers to give them that so that they kind of have some materials to get them started. And I will say that in our faculty, I feel like we are so available to the community. As journalists, we need to be part of our community. And so we spend a lot of time getting to know our community. And most of us have local teachers that have reached out for resources, and we're always happy to share.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fair?
Hi, I was really glad to hear you talk about kind of the interdisciplinary nature of the program. Like, you don't have to have a journalism background to come to it. You also mentioned that you've had pretty robust alumni interest in the program. Can you say what proportion of the alumni are not from a journalism background who have reached out to you, or what kind of interest you've had from people in different industries?
I mean, honestly, I feel like most of the people who have reached out to us do not have a journalism background because our school is journalism and strategic media. We have journalism, we have sports media, we have entertainment media, we have public relations, advertising, design, and a lot of our students, and this degree itself is not journalism specific, will have a lot of those disciplines involved in this degree as well. And I would say that probably only 10% of the students that have reached out to me personally are working as journalists now. Most of them are working in PR firms. A few of them are working for other companies not in the media field, but they're managing their social media. I have had a couple of journalists who work at local news outlets who just want to brush up on their skills. But honestly, I feel like we've been getting a lot more interest from students who were not necessarily journalism focused.
That's really great to hear.
That's a rough guess. I don't have exact numbers on that. This is just from my own personal.
Our partner would. He's data. He's very data.
My partner is the data person. I'm the interviewer.
Commissioner Wood?
First of all, I think this path is really good. So I would say, as I think about kind of digital media, I think this becomes more and more important across lots of industry sectors. So from that perspective, I think it's good. ETSU has a digital marketing master's. Can you speak, and I think that's also online, so can you maybe speak to some of the differentiation for this program?
So their program focuses much more on graphics, art, and design. I think it would probably fall much more under media, art, and design than ours, where I think ours is much more on the practice of media. So we have quite a difference. I don't think if students were looking for degrees, I don't think that they would could get our two degrees confused, because they're doing something much different than ours. It's much more on graphic design. I think, art departments in advertising agencies, PR, that's more what their program is looking at. And, we're looking more at the other side of that, kind of the front end, where how do you handle a PR crisis, as opposed to, or how do you plan an advertising campaign versus what does it look like?
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. Any other questions? If not, I will entertain a motion for the approval of the Master of Science in Digital Media.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairwoman Allman?
Aye.
Commissioner Perry?
Aye.
Commissioner Ragsdale?
Aye.
Commissioner Scarlett?
Aye.
Commissioner Wood?
Aye.
Secretary Hargit? Chairman, you have 6 ayes.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Dr. Aldridge, let's continue.
All right. We appreciate all the interest. Thank you.
Well, if I may,
Yes, Secretary Hargit.
it's that none of us asked a question about the biomedical sciences.
I know you're going to hurt their feelings.
Because frankly, we all know what our intellect is. We'd have been outmatched pretty quickly. Digital studies comes up and we're all over it.
And for those of us who have spent some time in the political arena, yeah, we wanted to know all about that media. I don't know that a more true comment's been uttered since I've been a member of this commission. Dr. Aldridge.
Yes, so for this last program, I want to ask Dr. Sandy Benson, co-author of this proposal, to join me, and Dean Joyce Heems for the Jones College of Business, where this degree will sit.
Thank you for being here.
Okay, so the proposed MS in Legal Studies, which will primarily be managed by MTSU's Jones College of Business, is created in partnership with our College of Media and Entertainment, which Sally Ann was a faculty member out of that area, and our friends at the Nashville School of Law. This degree will provide a unique opportunity to prepare professionals who don't aspire to be lawyers to read and understand legal documents, research and analyze legal and ethical issues, recognize and mitigate risk, and communicate responsibilities for findings both internally and externally to their organizations. The proposed degree will consist of 30 credit hours, with 8 taken in person at the Nashville School of Law, and then transferred to MTSU, where they will complete the remaining credits in online, in-person, or hybrid formats. The proposed MS-LS clearly aligns with the state master plan and MTSU's institutional mission. First and foremost, the degree offering addresses a glaring need within the existing and future workforce, which is Tennessee's growing demand for expertise in regulatory compliance. As I'm sure you're all aware, the increase of government regulations, growing liability threats, the high cost of legal services, and more online businesses have all contributed to the need for more mid and high-level professionals upskilling to know more about the law and how the law affects their daily business. Last week alone, there were more than 100 jobs on Indeed in this geographic region related to compliance. You'll notice that this degree proposal is supported by Ralph Schultz, who retired just last week as the CEO of the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce. He was quite enthusiastic when he talked to our external reviewer. When we think about alignment and the importance of family prosperity, this affordable degree will have a high ROI for individuals, as compliance officers are making between $70,000 to $135,000 on average annually in the Nashville area. We also believe that the availability of this degree will be attractive to employers who are thinking about establishing themselves in Middle Tennessee. We are certainly building on MTSU's institutional strengths with this degree, which includes our College of Business's coveted AACSB accreditation, which we plan to increase our scope with this degree. We conservatively anticipate an initial enrollment of 10 students with gradual, purposeful scaling. There will be a focus on quality and experience and being considerate of the 3 entities involved with the delivery of this degree. Students will pay MTSU for 22 of the 30 credit hours. The remaining 8 will be paid to NSL. We understand that this program appears to operate in the red, beginning in year 2. Allow me a moment to explain. MTSU's Board of Trustees, as well as our administration, are quite mindful when it comes to the cost of new programs, as you probably noticed with the other 2 that I put in front of you. The majority of cost with this degree are faculty salaries. Both accounting and recording industries are experiencing enrollment growth on our campus, which means they will need new faculty in what will be year 2 of this program, but they'll need them whether or not we have this degree program. So while 100% of the cost and benefits are reflected here for you to see, it's a little deceiving because their broader departments will benefit from the new hires beyond this degree. And I'll stop there, and we're happy to take questions.
Commissioner Perry.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I have a lot of questions about this program. I guess the first thing I want to know is related to a question that Commissioner Scarlett asked about the biomedical sciences program. What kinds of jobs is this program preparing people for? I saw compliance officer and some other things listed there, but we have 6 law schools in Tennessee, the allied professions, court reporting, paralegals. They're all really nervous about developments in AI, and I'm just really concerned about what these graduates will actually be able to do.
Understood. Dr. Benson? It's the other one.
Thank you for that question. I'm Sandy Benson. I'm the interim chair of the Department of Accounting and a business law professor. I appreciate the opportunity to address your question. So what kind of jobs are there? We've really considered that. In the Department of Accounting, job placement is really important to us, as we've been in that business for decades, placing our accounting graduates in professional and nice-paying jobs throughout the Middle Tennessee and other regions. So that's important. We really thought about these concentrations, and through the studies and surveys, the 3 concentrations, using our unique skills and offerings, will focus in business law, anti-money laundering, and the entertainment area. The industries in Nashville, key industries, include financial services, manufacturing, and healthcare. And the graduates from this program will have skills in these areas that will be of vital need and are in demand in the market now. You mentioned the compliance. So the area healthcare we know is a key industry. Compliance officers are in vast demand. A unique aspect, too, is the anti-money laundering initiative, and with an expert on our faculty in that area and other courses that already work well and synergize with that degree, we anticipate that we could become a national name in this area, in this space. And industries are attracted here. We've had asking us to have something like this from UBS and others. So we know that not only can it serve the Masters of Legal Studies, but this concentration will also help fulfill needs that we can have for our MBA graduates and our Masters of Accounting students as well. So we see a real opportunity for triple advantage serving other graduate programs with that. But also want to address business law as another concentration, because manufacturing, retail, all important to Tennessee, and purchasing managers, those people that can negotiate and interpret contracts, is an important area. So there's a growing need, 7% in Tennessee, according to BLS, in purchasing managers, buyers, and agents. So these careers alone are growing faster than the average for all occupations. In Tennessee, there were over 1,400 purchasing managers with an annual average mean wage of over $135,000. So the ability to intelligently understand and interpret complex contracts and the way that risk is continuing to be allocated to others in business, it's a huge area of opportunity for us to have graduates that really can understand and apply the laws. Other areas such that were on the display, regulatory affairs managers. These are people within an organization that really need to help interpret the changing regulations and help an organization understand what it means to them. These are not people that need to have law degrees. They just need to understand how to interpret and analyze ever-changing regulations and then communicate to their stakeholders what it means for their organization. With daily changes, weekly, frequent changes, what are they going to do in response? And to manage those risks is an important area for competitive survival and advantage. So we see that as a big area. And of course, entertainment is our third concentration. They also need to protect their intellectual property rights, so courses in copyright and trademark law, negotiating entertainment industry contracts. These are the types of things that directors in that publishing business and in the entertainment field need to know. Does that address?
It's helpful,
Okay.
but I want to follow up on a couple of things you said there.
Okay.
The curriculum that you've laid out here in the presentation that you've made here makes a lot of sense to me as like a stackable credential for somebody who's already getting an MBA, for example, who wants to also have maybe some specialized knowledge in one of the concentrations that you're offering. But when you talk about interpreting the regulatory landscape, right, companies can't go to a person who's not a lawyer but has a master's in legal studies and say, how should we respond to this evolving landscape? I've never seen a job posting for a contract negotiator. I mean, a lot of my colleagues here in Nashville can tell you that starting salaries for lawyers at the largest law firms have skyrocketed, but that most lawyers would love to land a starting salary of $135,000 a year. And so if you're telling me that with a one-year master's degree and not 3 years of law school, you can get that salary, but you won't be able to do some of the things that young lawyers are hired to do. I have some real concerns about those issues.
Can I address it Can I say something real quick? So, Commissioner Perry, we expect a lot of questions about this because this type of degree is very much on the trending side in higher ed. And we had to work very hard, actually, to find an external reviewer, and we got one from the Texas A&M system, from the Texas A&M Law School, and they operate this degree as part of the law school, but they put it in San Antonio, Fort Worth, and Dallas, right? So it's being offered with some JD programs, but a lot of JD programs don't want to offer it. They want to focus on the JD, such is the case with the Nashville School of Law. They want to focus on the JD, but Dean Koch sees the need for these legal studies degrees because these people are needed to assist the lawyers, right? The lawyers are expensive, and there's only so many of them you can afford in higher ed or even in finance, right? And so you need people to assist them who aren't necessarily paralegals, but they're people who are in business. You're teaching a little about the law.
And
right?
I guess that's what I'm getting to, like assist lawyers how, particularly if not in the role of a paralegal. Like what would I need, for example, right? I'm trying to respond to a question from a client, and maybe I have a paralegal do some preliminary research. What would I go to a person who has a master's in legal studies to help me figure out?
So I would anticipate more of these graduates will be within an organization.
Okay.
So they will not have their clients like a lawyer. So that's a major distinction.
Okay.
And so they will be able to communicate effectively with the lawyers outside to get better advice when you're able to do that.
Okay.
And then communicate within the organization.
Okay, that's helpful. I get that, that's a very helpful distinction. I guess I kind of get back to my first question then, like, what is that job role called, and how many opportunities for that job are there, and what does that role pay?
Would it be helpful to show that prior screen that had a list? There was some sampling of job titles. It could be purchasing manager, compliance officer, risk manager, contract negotiator. So that's the thing about this degree, it's versatile. And so there's competencies built in, and when they have these skills, the graduates will be able to use it in which career they come into it with to be able to advance in those areas.
Okay, thank you. I'll stop the cross-examination.
I love it.
Nice job,
Yield the
counsel.
floor to my colleagues.
She loves it.
Nathan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I've got several questions myself about that, and I'd like to also, at the end of talking about this, I'd like a little more detailed explanation of your badge system when that time comes, because I'm thinking about that in terms of, you know, it's one thing to get a graduate certificate on the way to a master's degree. 10 years from now, those aren't expired credits. That's half of a master's degree, right? Or it's something that you can, you know, is standalone, and I'd like to understand how the badges work. But back to this particular program, so I know with AI, there are programs being written to try to put entire swaths of the legal industry sort of out of business. But is the concept here similar to what's available in the United Kingdom, where you have someone who goes and gets a GLD, a general law diploma, and they're considered an expert that doesn't practice? Is that the concept here? Because I've had discussions about this kind of spot in the law that other systems around the world contemplate, but ours doesn't do so well. That is the place between the paralegal and the practicing attorney. You know, there were attorneys who would get their Bachelor of Jurisprudence at one point in time, and then they would go to practice law with that. But this isn't similar to that. So compare and contrast it. Tell me, what are the similarities between a program like this and, say, a general law diploma that you could get in Britain? Or I'm trying to figure out the exact niche. Can you help me with that?
I am not particularly familiar with that diploma in the UK. As you describe it, it sounds like if it's training people to help interpret, understand, and communicate about the laws without needing to have clients and needing to have a Juris Doctor degree. That's the target audience that we are seeking in training.
So this would be almost a similar, almost like a specialized MPA degree in some ways. You'd have, or an MBA that was specialized in compliance and, okay.
Do you agree?
Great. Well, I've got a little better picture of it. I think it's great that, you know, there's some expansion there, and obviously it's innovative in a field that's very used to looking at things. You're either on this level or you're on this level, and I know that's got to present some challenges.
I can put this in a practical space from where I sit, right? I've worked directly for provosts for 9 years, and oftentimes I'm asked to read legal documents that counsel doesn't have time to read, or maybe it won't be that serious of an issue or whatever. But I'm reading these contracts, and I often haven't had the sort of, I don't have the expertise always to read them, and I have to hand them off to legal, right? It would be helpful if I'd had a contracts class, right? And that's what, we're not gonna offer a higher ed specialization, but maybe we could, because I think there's a lot of people in higher ed who do this kind of work who could benefit from more knowledge and instruction, you know, from an instructor who does have the JD, is a practicing attorney, lawyer, attorney or judge, right?
And just one more point on your badging system. Can you tell me how that works? Do the credits expire? If you have 5 badges together, do you get something at the end? I'd love to, and I would also be all right if you wanted to email
Well,
us.
and I was gonna say, I'd be happy to come back to the committee sometime if you would like that presentation, or send you all more information.
That'd be good.
Yeah, be happy to do that.
If I could just real quickly add to that, Mr. Chairman. I think a whole session on that would be really helpful. Specifically, I remember my predecessor, Bob Smith, was really excited about what MTSU was doing there and was evangelizing on this topic across the state as well. So
He was a good cheerleader for us, yes.
Commissioner Perry.
I'm sorry, just a couple of, I saw that I know this program is being offered in tandem with Nashville School of Law. And I know that the Nashville Chamber of Commerce supports the program. Have you had discussions with any bar associations or with the professional associations of like paralegal associations or with any of the other law schools in the state? I know UT offers a similar program about what need this meets. Like the scenario that you described a moment ago makes a lot of sense to me. I'm in this role. It requires me to do things that have legal implications. I don't have a legal background. Something like this program would be useful. That makes a lot of sense to me. That is different to me from a prospective employer saying, I'm going to hire you to be a procurement manager or a compliance officer now because I see that you have this master's in legal studies degree.
Yeah, I can tell you, I hear a couple questions there, but I can tell you with the external review process is fantastic. I've just got to say, I learned so much sitting in there and listening. And we had a lot of potential employers, particularly from the financial world here in Nashville. And what I heard them saying is they would like to send their current folks through this, upskill them, you know, and I mean, maybe in the future it would be something people could go straight from a bachelor's into. But I think our immediate audience, and really we only have so many seats, so our immediate audience, I think, is going to be the upskilling audience.
That makes sense.
Right? The question about the ABA and other law schools. We have not had those conversations, but Dean Koch at the Nashville School of Law has had those conversations because that's far more his concern, right? That's his world. And he meets with deans regularly, the other law deans, and he's had all those conversations with them. They are not ABA accredited. You may be aware of that. They're accredited through the Tennessee Supreme Court, I believe.
Nashville School of Law.
Right. And so it's an old YWC. Their history is very cool. I don't know how much you know about that, but so he's had those conversations with them to make sure all their accreditation is good. And then on our end, we've had our conversations with the AACSB, which is our accreditor, and we're excited. Joyce, I don't know if you want to speak to this. We're excited because we could be one of the first MS in legal studies to get AACSB accreditation, and they think we could be a very good trendsetter nationally. Do you want to speak to that, Dean Heems, at all?
I'd be glad to. Yeah, AACSB is that brass ring that we all look for, especially in the School of Business. And this is something that's new and different. And it is going to serve a need, I think, fill a pocket that has not been there before. And so we are excited about it and look forward to bringing it in under the AACSB mantra.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? If not, we will entertain a motion to approve the Master of Science degree in Legal Studies. I'll move approval. Move approval, second?
Second.
Second. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairwoman Allman,
Aye.
Commissioner Perry,
Nay.
Commissioner Ragsdale,
Aye.
Commissioner Scarlett, Commissioner Wood,
Aye.
Secretary Hargett. Chairman, you have 5 ayes and 1 nay.
The motion carries. Thanks to the MTSU contingents for being here. Appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Our next item is key performance indicators via county profiles, and Paige Elliott's here. She's our Senior Director of Research and Strategy. She's going to provide an overview and is available to answer our questions. Thanks for being here.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, real quick, this presentation was prompted by a conversation I had with Chairwoman Scarlett after our last commission meeting to have more conversations about what our KPIs are or what they should be for higher education. And our county profiles have been a really good source for that. Just here to start that conversation. I know that we have another committee meeting in 10 minutes, but I believe this presentation is slated to be about that long. So, Dr. Paige
Yes,
Elliott.
I'll keep it timely. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. As you said, my name is Paige Elliott, and I am the Senior Director of Research and Strategy here at THEC. Today, I'm excited to be sharing with you the 2025 County Profiles, which collect a series of key performance indicators for higher education and localize them, allowing communities across the state to monitor their progress toward ensuring student success and improving the lives of Tennesseans. I'd like to take a moment to thank the data providers across the agency who make these profiles possible, and recognize my team, specifically Research and Strategy Analyst Jasmine Zhang, for the great work that goes into creating these profiles. THEC's county profiles are produced annually to correspond to the beginning of the new legislative session and comprise 76 data points for each of Tennessee's 95 counties. In addition to the 2-page PDF for each profile, we also produce a data download that aggregates all of these data points into one usable file for researchers. The data download also includes key data notes and sources so that everyone can go and recreate our analysis. The QR code on the screen will take you to the 2024 profiles, but I'm excited to show you a preview of the 2025 profiles today, which we anticipate publishing in the next week. So we will be looking today at Davidson County, since that's where we're gathered. And first, each profile features a community education snapshot, which gives insight into post-secondary readiness and college-going behaviors for each county and compares those to the statewide average. Here you'll see that Davidson County has a slightly lower public high school graduation rate and college-going rate when compared to the state. We also see that average ACT scores are lower in Davidson County compared to the state average, and that fewer of Davidson County's first-time freshman students are receiving the Hope Scholarship. Throughout the profile, college-going data reflects the county where a student graduated high school. For other data elements, students are located according to the county of their permanent residence, which is provided to us by their post-secondary institution into our data system. The first table on the top right shows educational attainment rates for each county compared to the state as a whole. These data come from the American Community Survey of the U.S. Census Bureau and show what proportion of adults aged 25 to 64 have a high school diploma or higher, some college but no degree, an associate degree or higher, and a bachelor's degree or higher. As we see here, Davidson County generally has a higher level of attainment than the state as a whole. The second table on this section shows the socioeconomic profile of the county, again compared to the state as a whole. New to the profiles this year is the labor force participation rate, which is sourced from the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development. Poverty rate, unemployment, median household income, and the size of the population, ages 25 to 64, come from the American Communities Survey. The rate of population growth and projected growth over the next decade are sourced from the Boyd Center for Business and Economic Research at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. The rest of the first page highlights college going, including FAFSA completion rates, college going rates, which include a historic comparison and a count of the number of students needed to increase a county's CGR by 5%, and the top colleges selected by high school graduates from that county. You'll also see that the profile highlights in-demand occupations. These occupations come from THEC's Supply and Demand Report, a joint effort produced each spring with the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development, Department of Economic and Community Development, and Department of Education. You'll see the top occupations for the county's local workforce development area, which is a designation used by Labor and ECD to organize Tennessee into 9 economic regions. Occupations are sorted by projected annual openings, and the entry-level hourly wage for that occupation is shown, localized to the LWDA. Finally, this section of the profile highlights the work of THEC's outreach staff and notes how many VETS campuses serve the county. Contact information for our outreach specialist and Tennessee Reconnect Navigator is provided so that local access partners, students, and families know who they can contact with questions. The second page of the county profiles focuses largely on state financial aid. The top left summarizes the Tennessee Student Assistance Award Program, showing how many FAFSAs were filed by students from the county whose expected family contribution falls below the eligibility threshold for the program, which provides need-based financial assistance to Tennessee residents. This section also shows how many students from the county were awarded TSAA and the total amount they were awarded. The top right summarizes the Tennessee Education Lottery scholarships, showing how many students from the county received the Hope Scholarship and each of its supplements, as well as other TELS programs. The total amount awarded here includes all lottery scholarship dollars awarded to students from the county, including Tennessee Promise and Tennessee Reconnect, which you'll see that Promise and Reconnect are also spotlighted on this page, showing updates on the most recent year of activity for each program. Additionally, this page highlights the electronic transcript exchange and Path to College events, which are activities of our Access and Outreach Bureau. By highlighting schools that participate in these activities, we hope to promote these resources that THEC provides to improve practice across the state. The final logo here highlights recipients of the dual enrollment grant and their college-going rate. Finally, the bottom of the second page of the profiles highlights enrollment and degree completion for students from the county. As a reminder, students are located in the county of their permanent residence, as submitted by their post-secondary institution to THEC's Student Information System. These enrollment and degree completion charts combine TCATs, public community colleges, and public universities, and enrollment counts do include dual enrollment students. What we see here for Davidson County is a pandemic-impacted downturn in enrollment in 2020 that continued until leveling off in 2022, with a small increase in enrollment in 2023. Accordingly, degree completion by students from Davidson County has seen a downturn, which we might expect as a result of those previous enrollment declines a few years earlier. The bottom right corner of the profile highlights grant programs that THEC administers in each county. Shown here are 2 college advising programs that you heard about in detail at November's commission meeting, Advise Tennessee and Gear Up TN. Additionally, the Governor's Investment in Vocational Education is a grant designed to foster regional partnerships to address local workforce needs. Not operating in Davidson County, but included on some other profiles, is Spark, supporting post-secondary access in rural communities, a grant aimed to increase work-based learning opportunities in the K-12 career and technical education space. To conclude, we are excited to share this preview of the 2025 profiles today, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Are there questions for Ms. Elliott or Dr. Gentile? Commissioner Scarlett.
Love this data page. This is really, really spectacular. Like, great seeing everything pulled together. Curious to know 2 things. One, have you ever done a focus group with your stakeholders to understand if this is the right sort of format or way to present the information?
Great question. I'm not sure that we've done specifically a focus group, but we do hear a lot. The 2 constituents that I hear most feedback from are access professionals in high schools and folks that are TCATs actually are using this a lot to justify their programs. And so they reach out oftentimes with questions about the data that allow us to then kind of point back to sources, to data notes to help explain what these data are. Unfortunately, being constrained to just a couple of pages, you kind of have to cut out that additional detail. So a lot of times what we're doing is walking them through those additional kind of data questions. But I like the idea of doing, some additional focus grouping and thinking through with various partners about the use of these profiles.
Okay, thank you. I think, I'll make one more
Go ahead.
comment, sorry. Can you go back 1 slide, please? No, sorry, another one. On the in-demand occupations by projected annual openings, interesting information. As I look at that, most of it's not focused on the high-wage, high-skill, high-demand jobs that our state is in need of. I'm curious to know if there's any way, have you talked about any other way of looking at this information, maybe at a regional level as opposed to hourly wage jobs that are right there?
Yeah, so there are 3 metrics in the supply and demand report by which a job becomes in demand. Job projections, job postings, and annual hires. And so we essentially chose from one of those 3 for how we were going to prioritize the jobs to present them here. Part of including the hourly entry-level wage is to show that some of those well-projected jobs are not necessarily also in that high wage area. And so pointing folks, it's really small, obviously you can't read it there, but it points folks to the full report to learn more about what the full slate of those occupations are. We're always open to other ways of presenting what those occupations are, and that is a development, I believe, in last year's profiles that we've continued for this year.
I guess if I think about the stakeholders that you mentioned, especially the counselors, are we setting low expectations or are we trying to set high expectations? And then it goes back to the question, is like, what's the ultimate goal of this and who's the audience? And so I guess a lot more questions than we have, given the fact that we're at time now. But I'd love to help further this conversation moving forward.
There's a really great data download that goes with the supply and demand report that I'd love to have you all play around with and see, when you kind of pick a column to filter on, what results are you getting? And it very much depends on the column you're choosing there, the data point.
Would it be fair to say that the top 5 occupations in counties are dramatically different than Davidson, or are they pretty similar across our state?
So those lists, there are 9 unique lists. There's one for each LWDA, the local workforce development area. Across the 9 lists, there are a handful of occupations that show up in each LWDA's list, yeah. So there's a lot of similarity across regions.
And I think that speaks to Commissioner Scarlett's statement about, I was hopeful that we might see, not that these aren't great professions, but we'd see something a little different in terms, particularly as it relates to wages. So,
I think maybe
Commissioner Wood.
one suggestion as you look at this might be identifying the top demand occupations that require post-secondary would probably be pretty helpful for this group. If there's data out there, I know
And that is a filter we could apply. It is in the data. It's just not one we've chosen to at this point. And I think I think this conversation is exactly the reason for that. So, yeah.
I do want to say that KPIs are fantastic. I love the fact that we're looking really deeply at the data. I think you do a great job with that, and so excited that this is kind of a big part of the conversation. So thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you so much. We really appreciate your presentation. Our last agenda item is other business. Do members of the commission have any other business that they'd like to bring forward at this time? If not, I'm going to motion us adjourned. And thanks to everyone for being here. And Whitney, I think Whitney just jumped off, but I hope she feels better soon.